Hello?
Judy?
Yes, honey.
Hi, it's April. I just tried to call the hospital, and they won't let me talk to anybody.
There's nobody there to talk to.
They just transfer me to the nurse, and they said they couldn't find him in the system. I was just calling to see how he's doing. I just videoed with him the day on the 23rd. I just videoed him, and then a couple days ago, they videoed me so I could talk to him, and he wasn't doing too bad. They said that day he videoed, and he said "I love you" to me on video. I got it recorded. And,
Aww.
yeah, I have a recording of him waking up, like, kind of,
Yeah.
and he said, "I love you," and he was, oh, you should see the video. The nurse was astonished because he heard my voice, and he waved to me and stuff like that, and I told him to relax, and it was a good call. I got it on video. I videotaped it, my call with him, so it was really good, and I've been calling every 2 days to video with them, and so I just called right now. They said that they couldn't find him in the system, and I needed to call whomever's in charge of him. So I said, okay, I'll call his wife. So.
All right. The thing of it is, honey, he died last night, and he died just around midnight.
Oh.
And he had black lung. His lungs were deteriorated so bad that he just could not breathe any longer.
Oh.
And so he has passed away.
I'm sorry,
And,
Judy.
I know, honey. You're not the only one that's sorry. I wish our anniversary is today. We were married 2 years today.
No.
And,
Oh, I'm so sorry, Judy. Judy, before you go on, I just want to tell you that you made my Uncle Doc so happy, so happy, because I talked to him on the phone, and he was always so miserable and lonely in his life, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you showing my uncle kindness and love and marrying him and taking care of him and handling all this. I really have a lot of respect for you, and if there's anything you ever need, that I'm right here for you, okay? Because it matters to me what you did for him. It matters a lot to me. I'm really grateful for that. So I wanted to tell you I love you for that, okay?
Okay, I love you too, baby. And you know what? He was always anxious to talk to you. And so evidently, you all had good, what they called karma together, and he loved listening to you, talking to you, and he looked forward to every time you'd call him.
You should, I'm going to go ahead and I added that girl that's in your house on my Facebook. I'm going to send her the message. It's the video of me videoing with Uncle Doc, so you can hear him say I love you to me and wave to me, so you could see it. Maybe that'll make your day brighter today, because I knew he was stressed out and scared, probably not knowing what was going on. And when he heard my voice and I told him to calm down, he calmed down. He was holding onto that railing and like moving a lot, and I could tell he was in pain, and I just told him that it was okay, and I let him know what was going on, and that it was okay to relax, and that he'd be fine, and that I loved him. He kept trying to speak to me, and I said, Uncle Doc, you can't talk. You have a tube in your throat. It's okay. I know you love me. And I said, and if you need to go be with Dad and Pap, it's okay. You can go ahead and go there if you're tired. But I want you to fight if you want to. If you want to fight, you fight. But if not, it's okay. We love you very much. And he relaxed. He put his hand down and he took a deep breath and was relaxing. And it was nice. It was really nice to get to talk to him.
Oh, that was sweet. That was very good.
Yeah.
And, I miss him already.
Oh, Judy.
He's been in there for several days. He's been in the hospital at least, I'd say, a month and a half.
Yeah.
And I wasn't allowed to go see him because he had the virus.
Right.
But we got to see him at the last and talk with him.
You went to see him?
Yes, they let me in because they knew he was dying.
Oh.
And so I got to see him, and then finally they took him to another room for him to get rehabbed,
Okay.
because they thought he might make it.
Mm-hmm.
And we lost him. So he was just ate up on the inside. We didn't know it.
What did he pass away from, though? Did they call it, did his heart fail, his lungs, or what happened?
Oh, honey, everything quit. He could not. When we went in last night, when he passed away, he was still breathing, but he wasn't breathing. He was breathing. This machine was making him look like he was breathing.
Right.
Because they knew that as soon as we saw him, if he wasn't breathing, he was dead. But they wanted to talk with us first. So we thought, well, they've got him on the machine for him to breathe. He might be all right. But when we got done with the talk, we realized it was about, hold yourself together. This too shall pass. Yes, we all know that you love him, and we want you to know that he was the dearest man. Now, the whole hospital, who did not even know him, enjoyed just talking to him. So when he went in, he was talking to people, when he first went in.
Yeah.
And that thing in his chest, the black lung, it was helped to kill him by the other stuff that he had wrong with him.
That's what happened to my dad. Yeah, that's what happened with my dad because of the coal mines. They were in that coal mines for so long.
Yeah, well, that was what Doc, he's been there 35 years ever since.
Yeah.
And you know what? He got an early retirement because he didn't see any sense to keep on going there all the time. It wasn't money he needed. He said he had plenty of money.
That's what he said. Yep.
Yeah.
He stopped.
He didn't have no worries.
Nope.
Well, anyway, I got the best last 2 years of him, and I am proud to be called Mrs. Sago because he was such a good, honest man.
Yes, he was.
And I loved him. I loved him very, very much. I still love him.
I know you do.
And I probably always will because I've been married before. He's the best man I ever saw. Right?
He's my Uncle Doc was the most genuine, good-hearted person I ever met. And that, my dad and my dad had issues growing up after he got remarried. My dad wasn't very good to me because of my stepmom. And so my pap, Sago, and my Uncle Doc, they're the two men in my life that have always been in my life consistently my whole life and have loved me no matter what and always shown me love. Uncle Doc we've always had a good relationship. I've always went out of my way to make sure he knows I love him. And he used to tell me, his thing for me when we were growing up, he'd always say, anytime he saw me, he'd be like, what's cooking, good looking? That's what he'd always say. Every time. It didn't matter when, my farthest memories back, I always remember Uncle Doc would put me on his lap and tell me, what's cooking, good looking? When he'd come home from work, when he'd leave in the day, because we used to stay with them all up there when my dad and mom got divorced. So I used to pack Uncle Doc's bucket, his little coal mining bucket for him. And so just little things like that. Yeah, so just little things like that. So I'm really, really sad that, that this has happened to him because, he's such a good person. But I did video him, and when I was videoing him, I was confused because you had told me, I was picturing something completely different. And then when I got to video him, it didn't look like it was that bad to me just because the way he responded. But then when I called back, the nurse said, that's the most he's done. Because I heard him say, I love you, and it's on tape. And the nurse was like, he sure did. And he kept trying to talk to me. But his chest, he was struggling to breathe. And I said to the nurses, he's struggling to breathe right now. And he said, yeah. And I said, oh, no, that's no good. So at first I thought, just videoing him the other day, he was going to be okay. He looked like he was going to make it. Maybe this tube helped him. So I'm shocked. I'm shocked because I didn't really think anything bad was going to happen now. I thought maybe that was going to be the good thing and that he was going to be all right just based on him responding to me the other day. But he heard my voice, and I feel good about that that he heard me say I love you. And that's what was important to me. I wanted him to know he wasn't alone. I told him that his wife, I said, your wife Judy, I've been talking to her. She's been very good about telling everybody what's happening with you. You're not alone. People are praying for you, and we love you. And I just love you so much. And I let him know his brothers and stuff thought about him. And that we were there. And it looked, you could see on the tape he calmed down, and that made me feel good to know that he was calmed by hearing my voice. And
Yes.
so I'm glad that he went peacefully and that you were there to see him. That makes me feel good to know that you got to see him first. So maybe he was holding on for that, you know?
That could be. That could very well be, because we had been there every day for a while, or every other day sometimes, especially the way the weather was, because that's 50 miles away where they had them. And so we would go, and even though he wanted to talk and couldn't, we knew that he knew we were there.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we say something, he would either, like, move the corner of his mouth.
Yeah.
Like, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, he said okay.
My dog.
He said okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, and he was so funny and so comical. So I have memories of just laughing with him.
Yeah.
And we would get the giggles and we'd get to laughing, and it was wonderful. So that's why we got along so good, because instead of being angry and contrary and mean all the time, we really enjoyed each other immensely.
Exactly. And I'm so grateful for that. And I know that's the truth, because my Uncle Doc called me, and I want you to understand something. The people that are in my family, they're not all good people. They're not. And I'm sorry for that. And I'm sorry that they're judgmental. And I'm sorry for what they've put you guys through and put Uncle Doc through just because you wanted to love him. I said that in a video. I don't know if anyone told you, but I made a video on Facebook, and I sent it to them, cussing them out right on Facebook for how they treated you and him. And I said, who cares if my Uncle Doc wanted to move out of your house? That's unfair to make him die alone. That's not okay. And I'm like, no matter what, I mean, I'm grateful for you, so don't take this the wrong way, but I yelled at them saying, how dare you let her handle everything on her own? Not as if that's a bad thing, but just as far as he's been our family his whole life, and their whole lives, and that's his brother, Uncle Dave's brother. He should have picked the effing phone up and called that hospital and found out what was wrong with his brother, no matter what, because that's just how I feel about it.
They told him they didn't want to see him ever back to the house. They didn't.
I know.
They never.
Well, I went off on them. Just so you know, I yelled. I made a video on Facebook, and I sent it to them. And I told them what pieces of shit that I think they are, and that you're a great person, that you're a nice person, that you're sweet, that I have talked to you, and I told them that Uncle Doc was very happy with you, and that you take very good care of him. And if anybody has anything to say to you, they can go through me. And that's what I told them. Because I'm not okay with that. I'm very grateful that my Uncle Doc had you. Very, very grateful. And a lot of us are.
I'm the one that's very grateful, because he was the best man I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I could laugh with him, joke with him. And even if something come up that we both disagreed on, but not harshly, but disagreed, we got over it.
Yeah.
That's not what we got married for. We got married to be together and do things together.
Yeah.
And just be happy.
You gave him life.
Just be happy.
You gave him life, and you gave him life. You gave him so much life that he held on to his life until you went and visited him. I feel like...
I got to tell you this one thing he said to me. We were sitting in our chairs. He was playing doing these thing with these well, anyway, he had that book, and he was doing things, and he was looking up about the other stuff that was going on TV. He could do two things at one time.
Yeah.
And so he said, we're sitting there, we're not even talking to one another, and all at once he said, "Thank you for rescuing me."
You told me.
I was dumbfounded. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, you saved me from having to live with them until I died. And he said, "I thank you for that." And I said, "Honey, you don't have to thank me. That was my pleasure." And he said, "Do you know I would still be there, and I would still be nothing to them. They would have called me every name, told me how worthless I was, and yet I did most of the work," he said, there. And it was so much, and I'm thinking, he would come to church and he would say things, "Well, I'm not allowed to give any money to the church, and I'm not allowed to go to church." But he said, "I come to church. They're not going to stop me.
Yeah.
The only way they can stop me," he said, "is to shoot me."
He loved it. He loved coming to church, but their thing was, because they were giving out some Pap and Graham when they got sick. they weren't all there in their head. So they were giving away a lot of money and not realizing it. So Uncle Doc, or they wanted to make sure Uncle Doc wasn't doing that part of it, which I get. They were trying to look out for him on that part of it. He loved going to church. That means he loved being a deacon in the church and loved helping there. And that's where he got to have an identity. That's where he got to have people that called him, Doc. And he got to, people treated him like an adult, like a human being. And so I can understand that. I'm really glad that he got to come live with you, because he was so alive these last few months. He's been so alive. And I know that I kept telling the nurses, I said, they were letting me know, they've been giving me updates since I talked to you, and they were letting me know what happened. And then I told them, I said, maybe he's holding on to hear somebody that he knows voice. So I said, I'd like to video him. I want to video him. I want him to hear my voice, because I want him to know that we're here and that that we love him. I want him to know that. I don't want him to think he's alone. So they said, okay. So they videoed me, and that's when I told him. And after he heard my voice, like you can tell in the video, he got calm. So I know that he was waiting to hear I love you from somebody that's his family. And I know that it was me that did that. And then I know for a fact that he did not let go until he got to see you, because he loved you. And I know that you going and visiting him calmed him and made him at peace. And I know I'm okay with how he went, because I'm grateful that you got to see him and that he loved you, and that you know what I mean? What is your plan now? So what happens from here? What are you having a service or something, or what's do you know yet, or is this too soon for you?
Okay. He already had everything made out, his will and everything.
Okay.
And where he wanted to be buried.
Right.
So that was before he ever met me.
Right.
He went ahead and did this. Okay. We know he's going to be buried beside his dad, because he said that's what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that there are different things that he's told people that he never wrote it down on paper, but he's told them. So
I know.
Try to go along with that, because he wanted to be in the church. He wanted to, die and then lay in state in the church for 3 days.
I have a video of Uncle Doc telling me, because I asked him, because once my dad died, and it was so unexpected. My dad just died in the middle of the night one night, and it was just out of the blue. And so after that, I'm really sentimental. So I started asking people questions, like, because Pap died, Graham died, my dad died, and my best friend died. And I started videotaping people and getting their voices on camera, because I'm so lonely out here without them, And I asked him things like, well, what's going to happen with you, Uncle Doc? Like, where are you going to go? And he told me he wanted to be next to his mom and dad. That's where he wanted to go. We never talked about if he was going to be buried or if he was going to be cremated, but I'm pretty sure it was going to be cremated, just like Grandpa was. That's what he did. I'm pretty sure that's what he wanted.
Will was. Yeah. Okay, what he wrote down in his will was this. He wanted to lay in state 3 days. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he wanted to be buried beside his father.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. He had that all specific. That's already been taken care of, that part of it. To be sure that that's where he wanted to go.
Okay.
And I said to him, do you really want to be buried? Because I want to be cremated, but, he can have what he wants. And so he said he wanted to lay beside his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And no, he did not want to be cremated.
No, he didn't want to be cremated. Okay. So that's what happened with Pap. See, my gram was already buried there. And so when Pap got cremated, we took the ashes down and we just dug a hole. Uncle Doc and Uncle Dave dug a hole underneath of the name that says Pat, where Pap's name is, next to Graham. They dug a hole and put his ashes down inside there. So they have a box that had his ashes in it, and then they put it inside the ground next to her. And I thought that's what he wanted. But so then that must mean then that Uncle Doc must have, I'm pretty sure they have their own plot with his name that's going to go on it, then right next to Pap, then I'm pretty sure. So they'll handle that with you. The people down at that church. They'll be able to help you with that. You know which church it is, right?
Oh, I'm not worried about it because they already are trying to make everything really nice because, because of the virus. The virus was what killed him because he did not know he was sick inside.
Right.
So he couldn't fight. He could not fight the virus. And it just took him over. And so nobody knew. He never complained. He's been to the doctor for stuff like sore throat, stuff like that, and colds and flu, but nobody ever x-rayed him to find out if he was okay in there until he had the stroke and he had to go to the hospital. So he died of the stroke. He first had the virus, and I had to call the rescue squad for him. And they took him, and he had the virus, and he'd been in there for over a month, trying to get the virus shook.
Right.
And then they they checked him again, and they found out he had, all that stuff, all the years, the 35 years he worked in the mines had ruined him inside. And he had black lung, and he also had the, Amanda, what was it? Like his bones? Yeah, his bones, his chest bones and rib bones were all deteriorated.
Yeah.
And that was just where they were deteriorated. There was nothing. Now, how it happened, I think probably when he was born, you know how he was. He was born, and probably a lot of that feeling was not even there. Like you and I, when we have feeling of we're hurting, and we know we're hurting, I would think that the way he had been born.
That's what I told everybody is I said, so, people in my family, or people that have known him, a lot of people will say, Uncle Doc was fine. No, I'm sorry, but my Uncle Doc was slow. He was mentally challenged. I know it because I grew up with him. I know that he was slower than most people. He had developmental delays. Yes, he was a smart man. Yes, he was a good man. But I'm just saying, my Uncle Doc was not like myself or his brothers, and it's always been that way. He was always treated like a baby from my grandma Sago, apparently, before she died. And then once she died, Grandpa Sago spoiled him, and he was always there with him, taking care of him. So Uncle Doc always, my whole life, lived right next to Pap or with him. And so then the first time he moved out on his own was in Littleton when he bought that house. And that's when things got out of control for him because nobody was monitoring him. And Pap and Graham had gotten sicker and older, and no one was taking care of him, And then that's when once they died, they moved him in down there. And that's when it was all over with. But I know that my Uncle Doc was a very special person, and when I say that, not only just because of who he was, but because he did have something. There was something wrong in his mental development that made him slower and kinder and just him. He was just happily. I just can't explain him.
He also was the type of person that when he knew something was right, you couldn't make him change his mind.
Nope, and that's what I loved about him. He'd always stand up.
He was determined. Yes, he was determined. He was determined in anything. I said to him when we left, when they threw us off of the property, the day he came to stay with me,
They threw you off the property?
Oh, yeah. They threw his clothes in the middle of the driveway.
No.
Oh, yeah. You should have seen that one.
Oh.
Everything that he had.
Who did that? Ramona or Dave?
Dave and Ramona. Ramona didn't come outside to see me. She was the one that was telling him, throwing his stuff out on the breezeway. And he was trying to pick it up and me bring it to the car. And his brother come along, and they just kicked his stuff and threw his stuff and told him he was never allowed at
I'm gonna call them and freak out on them. Oh my God.
Yes.
They did not treat him that way. My poor Uncle Doc. Oh my God, I wish Uncle Doc didn't tell me that for a reason. Because,
you know what?
I'm very opinionated.
Whenever the day that I went over there and picked him up, and all his clothes was thrown in the driveway, and they wouldn't let him have his deer. Do you remember the deer that he shot?
Yes.
The big deer? They wouldn't let him have that.
They still have it?
Yeah, they still have it because
Them son of a bitches.
they knew he wanted that. That was a trophy for
Yep.
him, something he had done, and no, he never got it.
He didn't? I'll get that, dear. You watch me.
Yeah. Well, they didn't want him. He was more trouble. You know what they did to him? This is one thing that sticks in my craw. They would have steak for supper. Doc had to have a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and when he send him his sandwich and something to drink, she'd tell him, well, you can go up to your bedroom now and stay there. And Doc said he'd get up to the bedroom, and they would be frying steak, and they never let him have it.
Right. Yeah. That's the type of person. I agree. I used to live with her, so yeah. That's
how you like the way she talks down to you? She talks to you like you're ignorant.
So her and my mother are sisters. Did you know that? Her and my mother are sisters. So my mother and her married brothers. So it's been kind of a shitty life because ever since my parents got divorced, none of us, our family kind of went down the drain, because here my dad's sister-in-law is his brother's wife. So it was just a bunch of drama. But here's one thing about my biological mother and Ramona. My mom used to beat the shit out of me when I was growing up, to the point where the state took me away, and I lived in a group home. So me growing up, I had to go live with strangers in Romney, West Virginia. They sent me there because my mom was such an evil person. And my dad was an alcoholic at that time and got remarried, and my stepmom was not a good person either. And so my dad I used to be his little girl, daddy's little girl, and then my dad just changed and he started being mean to me. So my dad tried to chase me with a knife one night, and the state took me from him. And Aunt Ramona and Uncle Dave came and petitioned the court and got custody of me. So I had to go live there with them my senior year of high school. It was, Aunt Ramona used to be a different person, I have to tell you. She didn't become like my mother until Skeeter, my cousin, got killed by a drunk driver. And once he died, her whole spirit and soul died. And she's been nothing but a bitch, I'll tell you. It's just a straight bitch since that happened. And so my mom, I had breast cancer, and them two women, instead of coming out to my house and visiting with me and seeing or asking or doing, they tried to accuse me of lying about cancer. I was bald, hooked up to IVs in the hospital, and they tried to tell me I was lying for attention, because that's how evil they are, because they don't have any compassion for others. They're very selfish people. And so I cut them off. I'm very sentimental. I hold on to my memories, and I hold on to the people that I love, and that's just from my dad and everyone I love being gone. And Uncle Doc is literally the last person in my family that I give a shit about on my dad's side. Like Uncle Dave and Aunt Ramona and all them, they're gone to me. I'm not their family. I don't claim them. I think they're horrible, awful people. And I let them know in that video. I said, if you let my Uncle Doc die without having peace, and you treat him like shit, you bet your ass I'm getting on an airplane and you're going to see a whole new bitch, because I'm going to show you bitch, because he does not deserve that. My Uncle Doc is a good, sweet person, and how dare you make him feel unloved or unwanted and die and not have peace. That's not okay with me. You don't need to talk to him. I'm giving you the update. I put on there what's happening. Uncle Doc is being at peace right now in the hospital. He speaks with his wife, which is who he loves, the only person that gave a shit about him the past couple years. That's all he needs to talk to other than me. And I said, if you want to know something, you can either ask me or you can call his wife, and you can ask her with respect. And if you can't do that, you're not getting any information, period. And I said, I'm not giving you the passcode because you're going to give it to Ramona and Dave, and it's none of their business to call there and interfere with anybody and cause problems. That's not going to happen on my watch. They want to know what's going on with Uncle Doc, they can call me, or they can call his wife. That's who they need to talk to. And that's what I did, and I refused to give the information up to them. So, yeah.
Well, I can see why he loved you so much, and he surely did.
I loved him. I will go to bats for him. I said in that video, too, I said, I will protect Uncle Doc. If Uncle Doc needs to, I didn't know any of that stuff was going on. He didn't tell me, because I'm a very opinionated person, and I'm not afraid of Ramona and Dave. or my mother, and I've always been outspoken, and I'm the one that like battles them. I'm the only one that'll speak my mind and tell them how it is, and he knows that. So I know that he didn't want me to, because he knew I'd get on an airplane and I'd go there and I'd freaking smack Ramona in her face for doing that to him. That's why he didn't tell me that she threw his clothes out there on that ground. If I had known that, shit would have hit the fan. You don't treat my Uncle Doc like that. I don't like that shit. No.
Oh, it was ugly. Believe me, it was very ugly.
I would have smacked the shit out of her. He knows that I would have. Because I just love him. He's my uncle. That's my dad's brother. That man took care of me when I was growing up. That man loved me. That man has been nothing but kind-hearted and a good, genuine soul and wouldn't hurt a fly on nobody's head. So for that, it makes me sick to my stomach that they treated him that way and I didn't know about it and I couldn't protect him. I hate myself for that, like not being there and protecting him. And, you know, oh, God, I wish I would have known more. But I'm glad he had you. And I know that I just want you to remember, no matter what anybody says, what's important is what Uncle Doc said. And what Uncle Doc said is he loved you. He had life in his voice when I spoke with him. He was a different person that was laughing and had, he was just happy to be with you. And that matters to me. And you made a difference in his life. And that should, you hold on to that because that's important. You changed his life for the better. And you gave him love. My love for him is different than the love you gave him. I could never love him in that way because we're family, clearly. But you gave him that love of affection, and that's something that he needed in his life. He never had that.
Yeah.
So you did that for him, and I'm grateful.
Oh, thank you, honey.
Yeah. And I'm
Thank
sorry
you so
this
much.
happened on your anniversary. I'm sorry that when he chose to go, you know, that I'm really sorry that you're having to deal with this today. And just remember, you know, you were my Uncle Doc's wife. That makes you my aunt. You know, I'll always be your family now. If you need anything, you just call me. And even if you just want to talk or anything, so you're not alone, I'm here for you. I know we haven't met yet, but my Uncle Doc loves you, so that means I love you.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for calling, and I love you. You can call back again anytime, sweetheart.
I will. Just let me know. So are you how, as far as the funeral or whatnot, are you so your plan is to take him to the church for 3 days? Is that what you're saying? And then you're going to bury him?
Yeah, he wants to lay in state, which means he wants to be in the church, the front part of the church, and he wants the people to come by and go, you know, say
Okay.
things, good things about him, you know, like,
Okay.
boy, Doc was a good old boy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And that's in his will. That is definitely in his will. I said, the man deserves to have anything he wants.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're going to do.
Do you know when
And
this is
then
going to happen? I'm just trying to figure it out because I haven't been working and I'm waiting for my...
Well, honey, you're just going to have to call because no arrangements. He just died last night.
Okay.
So no arrangements have been made, but there will be arrangements made soon. And then he wants to lay there for 3 days so everybody could get a chance to, boy, Doc, we're going to miss you.
I know,
Boy,
I'm
Doc,
trying to figure out, I'm going to look up plane tickets to see if I can come home. So I was just trying to figure out if maybe next week, or is next week too soon, or the week after?
It should be 3 days here, but that doesn't mean anything. That's why I said you may have to try to call me again. Maybe by tomorrow we will know for sure.
Okay.
Because he had all this stuff specific that he wanted done, and he had it done, you know, wrote it down a long time ago. Well, I told him, I said, he will get what he wants. I don't care if it takes 10 years.
Right.
If he wants to lay and stay for 10 years, he had a lot of friends, and he wants them to come past him and say, well, boy, we'll see you in heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants that, and he's going to get it.
Thank
even
you.
If he is deceased.
Thank you, Judy.
So
Thank
just
you.
try to call me back in another day.
Okay.
Give me 24 hours.
Okay.
Because I don't know right now. They're working on it. I know that because I talked to her this morning to get Carol Copeland, and she's wants the church to get together and decide where they're going to lay him. You know, up at the altar in his casket, or what they're going to do. And I know that Carol and the rest of them, how much they loved him.
Yeah.
They're going to do everything they can to do what is right.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Well,
All right. Now, don't forget to call me in another 24 hours, and I can probably give you all the information.
Okay. All right, Judy. Well, you try to get some you get some rest today, and try to take it easy and stay calm and stuff, and just know that you're loved and appreciated for what you're doing for Uncle Doc, okay? I love you. And
thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, and we'll be glad to see you one of these days.
Okay. All right.
And hopefully you make it in.
I hope so.
I'm hoping you make it in.
I hope so, too. I hope I'll be able to. I hope they deposit my unemployment before. I was hoping that nothing would happen to him. I've been out of work because of COVID, so they're supposed to deposit my my unemployment, and they haven't done it yet. So I'm not going to be able to come in unless they deposit it because I don't have enough for a plane ticket till then. So I'll have to. Yeah, I know. So.
Well, whatever happens, if you don't make it, we'll know why. But please call me tomorrow.
Okay.
And you'll probably have to call me in the morning, because I imagine if they have him ready, he'll probably go on showing tomorrow night.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe tomorrow morning. But he's supposed to lay there in 3 days, honey.
Okay.
So you can get in here. That will be good.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Babe.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, sweetie.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.